You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
One day we will learn to not fall in love with players in the preseason. But today's not that day, Liam. Noah Philp for 4C. Let's get into it with the lead. Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday, a Monday edition of the program. Tyler and Liam in the Sports Closet studio, sportscloset.ca.
All aboard.
You know Liam is dialed in for a show when he's got the notebook out. You were quickly writing down notes ahead of today's show.
Don't look at my scouting notes.
Oh, is that what you weren't doing?
I did both, but on the other side, I went to Edmonton Junior Oilers Blue and Sherwood Park Kings last night.
How they looking?
It was all right.
You can't say.
Can't wait till game 20. I'll tell you that much.
All right.
Got to get those feet moving, boys.
We got a fun show lined up for you today because it's the return of Frank Seravalli.
Hooray!
Frank's back after his summer hiatus. We are excited to have him on the show. That'll be a lot of fun. We're going to chat with Frank about a whole bunch of things, including, as Rusty said in the chat, is it time to ask Frank what the Oilers' trade targets are?
I wrote about it yesterday.
You did. Well, we're going to dig into that in a second. First off, shout out to our friends at sportscloset.ca. Check them out online, in store, 3 locations in the Edmonton area, St. Albert, Sherwood Park, and Kingsway Mall. Those are the 3 malls that they're in. Liam, we'll quickly move off of that and get into, let's just quickly, a little weekend recap for our friends at Greta. Bingo. Arcade, bar, street food, good spot to spend a weekend, decent spot to spend a weekday. Looking for a little Tuesday date night? Go play some Mario Kart and have Taco Tuesday. That's a decent play. Pizza taquitos and Papa Shot on a Thursday? Why not? Shout out to Greta. All right. What'd you do?
Do the Oilers play tonight?
They do, Monday night.
Maybe Greta will play it.
Maybe they'll play the Preseason.
I'm sure if you went and asked them and brought your laptop and plugged in the show, they would do it for you.
What'd you do this weekend?
I moved house.
How'd it go?
It was actually pretty good.
I like that you don't, this is not your first time moving.
No.
But you were downsized a little bit for a while. So this move was easy for you.
Yeah, so to give everyone a little context and a little insight into my life, I lived in like a townhouse with my girlfriend and another roommate. And then our lease ended, didn't renew. And then we moved into my girlfriend's parents' basement for a year. Just shy of a year, October 1st. I said, within a year, we'll move out. And then luckily we were able to save some money and just bought a 3-bedroomed house this past weekend.
That's a big house.
Yeah, it's a massive house. So I have one room right now, my bonus room, which currently has a reclining chair, my fish tank, a glass desk, and a TV with a stand. And when I talk in the room, it echoes.
All right.
So I'm trying to figure that out. So I'm going to need some stuff. But yeah, it went pretty well. Shout out to the gang, Matt, Zach, Brendan, my mom and dad. Andrew's family. Clark, my little nephew. He didn't do a lot, but he was the center of attention.
So I was going to say, isn't he like 3 months old?
He is not even 2 months old.
There you go.
Also, one other thing. I got asked to be a groomsman this weekend by my friend Matt.
Again?
Again. Always a bride. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. That's the same, right?
Well, I believe you're in control of that as a male, but anyways.
But yeah, that's fun. And
the wedding's not going to overlap with mine, is it?
No, I think, what's yours again?
Oh,
yeah, it's July.
Okay, we're good.
Yeah, we're good. But
I didn't want to totally get the date.
A problem they've had is their wedding's in Jasper. So part of it's good. The other part they got to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he asked me, he came over yesterday and he made a bit of a housewarming gift, but gave me this big bag and then gave me 4 cans of custom beer, of ales, I guess. And on the label, it says, will you be my groomsman? It has a picture of me.
Oh, wow.
And the picture is, I tried to find a picture of you at your happiest. I was, which one was it? It's that picture of you and all the cheesecake. So yeah, there you go. Another groomsman.
You had a busy weekend.
I did have a busy weekend.
I golfed twice.
I am not surprised. 45. Onto 45?
Well,
44?
If I count just the solo rounds that I have in my app for scorekeeping, this weekend was 43 and 44. But I did the Short Forward tournament, Oilers Nation tournament, a best ball round with Jay, and a best ball round with one of my buddies. So I'm at 48 if you count those. So I'm thinking this Saturday I'll get 49, and I'm thinking if I can just squeeze one more the weekend after, I'll hit my 50, and I'll be a happy camper.
I think the weather's going to be
this
cooperating.
Weekend, this weekend's supposed to be nice, so it'll be good. My beer league team.
Oh yeah.
Was down 6-0 yesterday. 10 minutes to go in the second period. You only play 15-minute periods. We erased that deficit.
Is it run time?
No.
Okay.
Stop
That's why they do 15.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So we erased the deficit.
Yep.
And won in a shootout. I got the shootout winner. Oh,
wow.
Yeah, it was an electric weekend for me sporting wise, except for the fact the Buffalo Bills got their teeth kicked in by the
crazy.
Who
would have thought?
Well, not me.
The Ravens are good. They
are, I know, but the Bills are also
the Bills
good.
Are good too. Yes.
Yeah, they just,
Good
it's the first time in a long time that the Bills have gotten beaten up. I think it's the first time in a couple of years they've lost by more than 8 points, which is crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
And that line got to 8.5.
Yeah.
Too bad. Oh, it's all right. It'll happen.
That's life. That is life. So there's our weekend recap for our friends at Greta.
Borzy, of course, said it in the chat. The President's Cup was this weekend.
Yeah.
It didn't go well, obviously, for the international team.
Who we were rooting for.
Those Japanese golfers, I believe.
The Korean Kim Incorporated.
But the other guy,
Matsuyama.
No, I can't remember his name. Maybe it was Matsuyama.
Minwoo Lee
did the.
I think that was Tom Kim, wasn't it?
I don't think so. Because the other guy tweeted about
Siwoo Kim.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. Either way, those guys were entertaining as all heck for a team that wasn't coming close to winning that damn thing.
Yeah.
But very fun. That was a fun event.
Tyler Mulick says he took a puck to the face this weekend, had to get 3 stitches. That is why I wear a cage in beer league.
It's clever.
It is really smart. Our team now is up to, we've 2 guys who don't go cage, 3 guys who don't go cage. Everyone else is cage.
In the co-ed leagues and the soccer leagues I play in, it's not mandatory to wear shin pads. I wear them every game. I could not go without. And also, it kind of feels weird not to wear them.
Mm-hmm.
You've done it for so long.
It was Tom Kim who was the guy who did the celebration.
Was it Tom Kim?
Yeah.
My apologies. I love that guy.
Yeah,
he was on
really
full
good.
swing this year.
He was on
for the full swing event this year.
Mm-hmm. All right. Tyler Mulick got to go visor in case I need to fight. No, you don't.
That's true. What if you have to fight?
It's literally, I feel like everyone kind of does it until you get one real close call or you actually get hit. Then it's like, we had a guy last year who watched one of our players. He got hit in the side of the head with a puck and his visor popped off. And that guy the next game was like, oh, that was scary enough for me. Like, it's beer league.
Yeah.
And then 2 other guys on the team were like, oh yeah, who am I wearing this for? There's no reason.
Trying to impress.
Yeah, who are we trying to impress right now? Okay, let's talk some hockey, Liam.
All right.
Let's get into things a little bit. Our lead today was that we are not going to be falling in love with players in the preseason anymore. We're going to take the full lens view, but God damn it, I love Noah Philp. And I love the story, and I love that he's a Golden Bear, and I watched him play, and he's close, man. For a guy who took a full year off, he is close.
It's impressive what he's been able to kind of accomplish in this little stretch here after, of course, not playing last season, but even the year before. I remember you talking about it. Just he's not that far away, and the fact he's been able to come back and get to that standard again is incredibly impressive. And
he's looked better than Peterson. He's looked better than Hamblin.
Yeah, Hamblin and Peterson, 2 guys who, quite frankly, I would have had ahead of him coming into the camp, and I think a lot of people did. And now here's Noah Philp, and we'll get into kind of Derek Ryan and all that stuff too. But either way, he's still around, and a lot of guys who we thought would still be here, like Matthew Savoie, bit of a different situation. Philp stays. We'll see.
Man, so there's kind of pros and cons to how I'm handicapping his chances of being the 4C. On one hand, he shoots right, and I love that.
Yeah.
He's winning faceoffs, and I love that. If you can be a big body right shot center who moves well and win draws, hello. The goal he scored, I think we got it, AB. It was the 2-2 goal from the preseason game against Seattle. But again, and Jason Demers had some tweets on this. He's making his return to the show pretty soon here. But again, moved up the ice well. He supports the puck beautifully. And look at the way he just rips through the middle of the ice and then excellent touch to finish that one off.
That is good.
The whole play it's art, man. From just the style and what you need him to do. Again, support the puck, swing low, come up, recognize you have a lane, attack it, great finish. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful goal.
It's simple. it really is a simply executed goal, for him. But like, I just feel like a lot of guys aren't making those kind of plays. And a nice pass to whoever passed that over to him.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was, but that stuff stands out. Like we said, Peterson and Hamlin aren't really doing that right now.
Yeah. We're going to get into it a little bit more because we do have our Sherwood Ford Giant question is centered around the center race. So let me just put a pin in it for a second and quickly rattle through a piece of news or a couple pieces of news. Over the weekend, both Matt Savoie and Sam O'Reilly were released from training camp. Savoie going to Bakersfield. We all knew he was starting the year in Bakersfield. They weren't starting with him in the NHL. Sam O'Reilly's going back to the OHL after a very good camp. I think that is a guy who a year from now we're maybe talking about making the team. I think.
Oh yeah,
I could see him making the team at a next year's camp, just with what we saw early on here.
I know on maybe it was even Friday's show. I can't remember what it was, Wednesday, whenever. I did speak about him possibly playing some games this year.
I never really bought it.
I was never 100% in on it, but I thought it could be a possibility. But I just think it shows like where Philp is at too, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to take minutes away from Philp right now.
So O'Reilly, someone asked, what does loaned mean? That's just, he doesn't need waivers, so you can just send him down to Bakersfield. AB, can you flash that up quickly one more time? Seth Griffith, he's released from his PTO. He's going to go to the AHL. Again, expected the whole time. He's got an American League deal, so he does have an American League deal.
Yep.
And then on waivers, Cam Dineen, Connor Carrick, no surprises really there. I thought Dineen showed well, but again, you're not going to keep that guy on your roster. And then today we got the news that Mike Hoffman has been released from his PTO. This is not surprising. He was never going to make this team. This was... You needed a vet to play in some lineups. You were doing a solid, I guess, for Mike Hoffman. And I suppose his agent being like, hey, come showcase yourself in Edmonton, play with some skill. Yeah. It just didn't work. He's not an NHLer anymore. And you noted today he's not on the Bakersfield roster.
Yeah, he isn't on the
camp roster.
Yeah. But there's a few guys not on it. But I mean, I feel like that information would have just trickled down there. Yeah. But to Hoffman's credit, I think he did a bit better than I thought he was going to. He was on the ice. He scored a goal. He was on the ice for like positive moments, I guess, for what he was. I, again, never fully expected him to make the team. And I think BM made a good point of like, the guy can rip the puck. Like, you don't really lose that too much, but like his feet just weren't with him anymore. And it's too bad, but the Hoff is gone.
The Hoff is gone. It was a short-lived era. Someone asked us earlier in the Greta Bar Yag YouTube chat, where do you rank him amongst failed Oilers PTOs? So like, if we're just going PTOs in general, down here or like off screen down here is Virtanen.
Yeah.
And then up here is Chason.
Yeah, the answer was probably the best.
Yeah.
I mean, he made the team.
Totally was the best. He scored 20 goals off of PTO. It's crazy. So Chason's way up there. Virtanen's down here. See my hand off camera for those listening on podcast. And then Hoffman would be like right here. Right there.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's... I don't know where he would even rank him. Brandon Sutter. I forgot he was on the team.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing with Hoffman and Sutter was like, how do you word it? Like before camp started in a way. Like he was invited because they thought he was good enough to.
Yeah.
Hoffman was invited because they needed a spot to fill.
Yeah. So
like,
I'd say like,
different.
Again, Virtanen, Hoffman, just barely on screen because at least he wasn't a piece of shit. And then you go just like a little bit higher up and you probably get to Brandon Sutter and then like Chris Versteeg, if you remember his PTO. Sam Gagne would be like up here because Versteeg at least turned into an NHL contract.
Yeah, he got a deal.
Like Gagne because he's stuck with the Oilers and we love the vibes. And then like Chason way up here.
I can't remember anyone else.
Yeah, I really. Oh,
Pelini was Pelini. I think they signed him.
I thought they signed him too. Yeah. Anyways,
Derek Raw was on a PTO.
No, he was acquired midway through the year.
So
Perry was in a PTO.
Did Brandon Sutter just retire?
I think he did. Yeah, he just dipped. I would imagine we're going to get something similar from Hoffman here. So
yeah. Sutter was Versteeg, the one who bailed and went to Calgary.
Yes, he was. Had an offer and decided to go to Calgary instead because he thought he'd get more playing time. I think that ended up working out okay for him as well. But anyways, there you go. The Oilers release Hoffman. Savoie and O'Reilly go down. So we're starting to kind of see the way things are shaping out roster-wise, which ties into the Sherwood Ford Giant question of the show. Liam, looking for a new or used vehicle with cutting-edge technology and top safety features? Sherwood Ford the Giant has you covered. Explore the amazing driver assistance features and intuitive infotainment systems available from their giant inventory. Their knowledge and friendly team will explain everything you need to know to feel confident and connected behind the wheel.
Did you know Chris Versteeg went on to score 15 goals that following year in 69 games for them?
Yeah, that's what I mean. He
Flames?
played good.
Yeah, that's good for him. Sorry.
Let's go percent chance here. You have the 3 guys fighting for the 4C spot.
Yeah.
Break it up percentage-wise for me.
Okay, but I'm going to break it down more because I forgot about a player.
Oh, yeah, James Hamblin.
Yeah, the Hammer.
Okay.
I'm going to put that up, actually. So I have Derek Ryan at 60% chance of making it. That means Philp I have at 15. Hamlin I have at 10. Peterson I have at 5. I think that's 100%. I think.
Peterson at 5. Hamlin was 10. Philp was what?
15. So that's 30 plus 60.
And no, you did 90%.
Okay, then 75% Derek Ryan makes.
Now you're at 105%.
70% Derek Ryan makes the team.
Boom! That guy who was tweeting us say all we do is babble for an hour. He's
go.
Vindicated right now because that was babbling.
Math. Someone tweeted that at us?
Yeah.
Oh, just you.
Maybe it was just me, or maybe someone you already have muted.
Probably. Someone texted me over the weekend, literally just like, "Hey, I got a Yakimov jersey."
Bogdan Yakimov.
I don't know who texted me, so if it was you, let me know.
Yeah, because you texted me and Aaron in our group chat, and you were like, "Who is this?" I was like, "I don't have their number," but also that person would have acquired your number somehow.
Oh, is it Dangerous Wade?
Oh, well, then that makes sense.
Sorry, I was moving house. I was so busy.
Also, Dangerous Wade, I don't have your number, so I was of no assistance.
There you go.
Sign the text, DS.
Yeah.
Dangerous Wade.
Dangerous Wade.
Okay, to the Short for Giant question. And this was not intentional, but I had the same numbers. I think there's a 70% chance as Derek Ryan as the 4C on opening night in a week or two or whatever it is. I'm giving Philp that 15% chance because, Dangerous Wade says it was not him.
Damn it, Dangerous Wade.
Duped us.
Anyone.
Okay, Derek Ryan's 70%. He's the incumbent. He's the vet. He would have to go through waivers. It's easier to keep Derek Ryan on this roster. And to his credit, he's played I would say, fine.
He's been perfectly adequate.
Perfectly adequate. Great way to put it. Philp at 15, because he's been the better player. And there is clear upside to putting that guy on your roster. With Derek Ryan, you know what you're getting. And it's safe. And he's going to eat a couple of minutes for you and penalty kill, and it's all good. Noah Philp is maybe not quite as safe of an option, but boy, are you getting upside here. If he were to hit, you could have a guy who is a big, strong bottom 6 centerman for you for the next 3 seasons, and you're loving it. Mm-hmm. So I think him being at 15% is fair. James Hamblin has been okay. And I do think they like James Hamblin going back to last year where he was the one who'd get the call-ups and played some games, all that stuff. I have Peterson at 5%.
I might have switched those around too.
I was really high on Lane Peterson coming into the year, and maybe it's because shiny new toy Noah Philp is doing what he's doing, and I'm more drawn to that right now. Mm-hmm. Lane Peterson, I was hoping he'd come in and do what Philp is doing. And if Peterson was playing as well as Philp, I would probably have him and Derek Ryan closer to 50-50.
Well, Peterson is so interesting because they signed him to a 2-year NHL one-way deal, and he has not been playing in the NHL at all.
Yep.
And with James Hamlin, he beat out Peterson last year to make a spot on the team. And I do think I would have the gap a little bit closer, but I think Philp needs to just go play some games in the American League. Play his 18, 22 minutes a night, get some penalty killing, all that kind of stuff. And then I think we'll see him whenever an injury happens, to be honest. And also to the Lavoie factor into it a little bit with waivers and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah. Raph Lavoie, AB, pull up the highlight, scored the winner in the preseason game on Saturday. And this is not a part of the Sherwood Ford Giant question, but he's now up to 2 goals on the preseason. We talked about it. The power play goal was great because it showcased his skill. This goal gives him a better chance of making the team because it's at 5v5. He plays well in traffic, makes a nice, confident cut to the middle of the ice, slides it home. It wasn't like a great shot or anything, but power move. Like we said, play like a guy who can be effective in the bottom 6. That's the kind of goal you will score in the bottom 6. So again, it's so hard to sit here and point at a veteran player and be like, you're playing bad in the preseason, or I'm not noticing you. Because quite honestly, like, our attention's just not on a Corey Perry. Our attention's really not that much on a Derek Ryan.
Yeah.
Our attention's on the young guys. And like I said, the shiny new toys. I want him in the lineup over Corey Perry night one.
I did too. And I think as well, like preseason, of course, but like 3 minutes left in the game, the two guys celebrating him, Hamlin and Kemp, and whoever the other guy is rolling in there. I think it was Gleason. It's like, it's not like he did that with like Draisaitl taking ice away and stuff like that, right? That was just like him being what he's done the last few years for Bakersfield and scoring in the big moments. And I think that would be such a useful trait for on this team right now of a guy who, I mean, Max is probably going to play his like 11 minutes on a good night. So, but a few minutes left in the game, Draisaitl and McDavid need a shift off. Maybe you have like, okay, well, we have this guy who's scored 40 goals last 2 seasons. Like, he knows how to put the puck in the net. Having him in that bottom 6 might not be a bad thing. Or you can throw like a Draisaitl and McDavid between him and, I don't know, Paul Coulson again towards the end of the game in moments. Like, gives you a bit more to go with. I like him. I think he will be the 13th forward, and I think they'll just give Perry the respect of like your Corey Perry. But I mean, at some point, they've got to look at it and be like, okay, this guy can play, and he's been in the organization forever.
Yeah. It's time, I think, that you give him a good, honest look. And if you're not going to do that, I think you maybe find a Samurikov for Kostin like trade.
I've been thinking about that too, but I think he's better than Samurikov.
Oh, yeah, I think so too. I think he's closer. Although we were pretty high on Samurikov that year as well. But like,
I think
at what point, when does Ralph Lavoie even sit there and go like, okay, I've played good in back-to-back preseasons, and then you call me up in the regular season, play me 8 minutes, and now I play good again, and you're sending me down to keep Corey Perry on the team, which again, yes, respect to Corey Perry. He's had an incredible career. At some point as an organization, look to turn the page, look to give these guys some runway. I just think I think it'd be disingenuous, I don't think is the right word for it, but like, why have training camp battles if Lavoie and Philp are going to play as well as they did, and we're just going opening night Ryan and Perry?
I agree. Looking at natural stat trick, take it for whatever it's worth. Raphael Lavoie is the best goals for percentage on the team in the preseason.
Yeah,
tied with Derek Ryan.
There you go.
Third on the list, Mike Hoffman, tied with McDavid. So here we go. Could be Nathan. Do you know Jeff Skinner's played 1 game? I just looked. I didn't notice it.
I wonder if he'll be in the lineup tonight then.
Daniel Nugent Bowman tweeted the lineup.
There he is. No confirmation on the Oilers lineup tonight versus Van. Here's the best guess from our boy DNB. Vasily Podkolzin with McDavid and Perry. Okay. Somewhat interesting. The Podkolzin-Perry duo could end up being your 4th line duo on night 1. Skinner with Draisaitl and Arvidsson. We will see that trio together. Generally excited for that. Henrique with Janmark and Brown. So again, giving a good, honest run to what could be the 3rd line of the Oilers. Hamblin, Peterson, and Kajula, which could very well be a line in Bakersfield to start the year. And I don't mean that with any disrespect. I mean that like, yeah, okay, play those guys together. Like, okay, sure. I know Hamblin and Peterson would probably be centering their own lines, but that 4th line, I think, is 3 guys who might be getting their final preseason games in tonight.
The 4th line?
Yeah.
I would think so. How many what are they at now? 6?
I think so.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I would assume so. I don't see Kajula making a mark on this deal, unfortunately. The 3rd line.
Today is 6. Yeah, then 7 is on Wednesday, and the finale is on Friday.
How many more at home?
This is the last one at home.
Oh, then I think those guys will probably just stay.
Oh, yeah. Send them on the road trip to Seattle. Then maybe tell them, like, hey, you're going to play in Seattle, then you're going down to Baco. Or play both. Yeah, maybe it's
both. I mean, Bakersfield start their preseason Friday against the Barracuda. I don't know if it's home or away, but like, I don't know. Draisaitl, McDavid, are they really going on the road right now?
What was the blue line, AB? I see people saying in the chat. Kulak, Brown, oh boy. Dermott, Stetcher, oh boy. Gleason, Emberson. Okay. Yeah, that's a blue line. That's 6 players who play the position of defense. Yeah. I will say, although we're laughing at it, every pairing has a guy who's going to be an Oiler to start the season. So
yeah, but it'll look a lot better when Kulak's down and Emberson's up and Stetcher's down one.
Yeah.
I really don't know what's going to happen to that right side and the 3rd pair. And I think Emberson's a lock, because I think they have to almost.
Yeah.
I think it's good enough, but you don't trade Cody Ceci for a guy who then doesn't make your team. You know?
Yeah.
Stetcher and Brown, I really, really think they're going to. My prediction is they give Brown game 1 and be like, look, tough guy on the blue line. I don't know.
Has that really ever, like, this Chris Knobloch's the guy who sat Vinny Desharnais and Cody Ceci for Philip Broberg in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So
Playoffs, though, when it matters.
You think
opening night, I could just see them being like, because the way they promote it too is like, the Oilers love this tough guy they played against, like McDavid and Knoblauch played against in the OHL 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
It's a weird connection.
This doesn't make any sense.
Brown gets a 3-week stretch from Mulik. Again, they signed him to a 3-year deal, so I could see them.
They got to give him a go.
Like, you don't want to send that right down to Bako.
And
although they signed Lane Peters into a 2-year deal and sent him down for the whole year and probably aren't keeping him this year.
Yeah.
Granted, less money, but 100% buriable cap it.
I think too, and very minor, but actually, I'm not even going to say that. I was going to say you want to respect the free agent portion of this too. Peterson, I think, was a little bit different because he hadn't played much in the NHL, but like Brown is somewhat of an established NHL player.
It does also go back to, and man, I remember this is one of our clips that went stupid viral with people screaming at me last year.
Awesome.
But remember the whole, like, you can't, people are like, game 9, send down Connor Brown for the whole season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. For the
right. And it was like, whoa. He's coming back from injury. You do want to do right by the player. He did you a solid signing that kind of a contract when he could have gotten guaranteed money from Arizona. And people were just down my throat about that.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Anyway, score that. I don't score a lot of points, but score that one for me.
Yeah, 1 point for the good guys.
1 point for Yaremchuk. What else do we want to talk about from the weekend around the Oilers? Okay, yeah. People keep commenting this. Read the Journal article today. Clears up the Seth Jones nonsense. Seth Jones double retained. Who says no? There's no way you're getting Seth Jones double retained.
I say no.
I also say no. So the contract on Seth Jones, let's start there. And the context here is that Stan Bowman is the one who originally signed this contract out with the Chicago Blackhawks. He's got 4 more years at 9.5. Greg Wyshynski had an article where he said, this could be the season where Jones gets moved if the right situation presents itself. Presents itself to Kyle Davidson, who is not the GM who traded for and signed Jones to that contract. Funny enough, the GM who did is now running the Oilers, a team that has a much maligned 26-year-old defenseman making $9.25 million against the cap through 2029-30. Seth Jones, Stan Bowman reunion. So what Wyshynski's getting at is a little, call it problem for problem, swapping Seth Jones for Darnell Nurse. Each guy has 4 years remaining on their deal. Each guy is north of $9 million. Seth Jones is a righty. Darnell Nurse is a lefty. That's the difference here, is that you'd be getting Seth Jones playing him behind Bouchard instead of having Nurse playing behind Ekholm.
So the other problem actually doesn't.
No, it's not solved at all
for the Oilers,
because now Brett Kulak's in the top 4, which you maybe don't love, and then you have a hole on the 3 LD instead of having a hole on the 2 or on the 3 RD. Like, it doesn't help anything. Also, you have Seth Jones. Okay, he is what he is. He's grossly overpaid. One of the worst contracts in the NHL. You have Darnell Nurse, who is also those things, but gets along well in your core. Brings a bit more of a hard-nosed flair to your blue line, which I think you do like and value.
Totally.
Has a full no movement clause.
So does Seth Jones.
So, like, let's look at both these. American player playing in Chicago, one of the bigger American markets where he chose to sign. No movement clause. Why would he want to leave? Now let's look at Darnell Nurse. Playing with his boy, Connor McDavid, and all the friends he's made in Edmonton, has a family, all that, has settled down in Edmonton, has a chance to win Stanley Cups in the next few seasons. Why would he want to go to a rebuilding team in Chicago? Yeah,
and for Jones as well, like a few years ago, and like the pressure was on him big time. People were talking about him a lot. It's a guy you don't hear of now because Chicago, yes, obviously a huge market, but like they're not supposed to be good, and they actually might be like they will be a lot better than they were last year. Like, I just don't see it as a possible option. And like you know, you said then Kulak would go up to your lefty 2D, way better than whatever the right side's going to be for sure. But like, then you have Travis Dermott, like you just pushing your problems aside, not even down the road, just literally to the side. the other side. Just not worth it.
Travis, naming the top two pairs is not depth. The Oilers' top pair is one of the best in the league, correct? Nurse is good. There's a good chance Emerson might be good, correct? Kulak is depth. I do think, like, again, the Oilers they're not two defensemen away. They're one defenseman away.
Yeah.
Granted, it's a legitimate top four right-handed defenseman because I do think Emerson Kulak has the potential to be like a really, really good pair, and you can, again, just find someone to play with Darnell Nurse. They're one away.
Yeah, and they'll be able to get the job done. We spoke about the money they're going to accrue from Evander Kane. Like, again, like, I know it's kind of been the song and dance the last couple of years, but we didn't expect Matthias Ekholm to be available.
Correct.
Who knows what's going to happen at the deadline, right? It's a long way to go. And also, too, like, Emberson's still young. He
Very
really
young.
could develop into this top four guy we need. And then, you know, I don't know, Stetcher works out, Brown works out. I don't know, whoever else we have playing in skates this upcoming weekend. So they'll be fine. I getting Seth Jones we're not in the Lucic and Neal deal anymore.
No. And someone was like, oh, well, like, you know, pie in the sky. What if he's retained? There is one team in the NHL who I think would be comfortable keeping 50% of his contract, and I believe it's the Calgary Flames. Like, I think they're the only team right now who is in the market of keeping contracts for assets. Also, that means you're going to have to pay a ton. You know how much $4.5 million of retention for 4 years is worth?
Yeah.
Keep in mind when the Oilers got Ekholm, they got like $250K retained. That's all they could get out of Nashville, right? So again, is Chicago going to sit there and sign up for all that dead cap space? No. And they have two guys already on the books this year as retained money, or one guy's retained, one guy's a buyout.
I got a question, though, for the audience on the retained money of things. Would you rather you made a deal? Hypothetically, you make a deal with Chicago.
Yeah.
You want him to retain on Seth Jones, or do you want him to actually get a player that could help them solve a problem in Taylor Hall?
Connor Murphy.
Or him.
I like Connor Murphy.
Either one. Taylor Hall.
Right.
I got a jersey.
Yeah. At least we can reuse our jerseys if it's Taylor Hall. Okay. Let's get out to the Star Mechanical guest line. Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can check them out online at starmechanical.ca. They've been doing it. They've been running the game for 20 years in Edmonton, and they're not going anywhere. Residential, commercial, 24/7 emergency repair. They do it all. Liam, it has been months. We've been sitting roughly 12 weeks. Every episode we do, we just go, damn it, we need to ask Frank Seravalli who the Oilers are going to target at the trade deadline. And we finally get that chance. Frank, how's it going? What's up?
No, you don't.
Damn it.
I love how we were talking about Taylor Hall coming right as he
I know. It's like right as he popped up on the screen, he heard us talking about trade deadline targets for the Oilers. But Frank of Daily Faceoff and the DFO Rundown, all 4 division previews now out. And today's was the Pacific Division. So find that wherever you get your podcast from. Frank, how was your summer?
It was good. It was quiet. Really didn't do much. Lots of time with the family, some golf, no trips. It was a really nice summer.
Yeah, I was going to say, you actually didn't go anywhere. You were just hunkered down and relaxing, which is great. I'm rocking my Phillies hat for you today. They are my NL team I'm rooting for in the playoffs. I'm going Guardians, Phillies, World Series. Are you fired up for the Phils?
Guardians? What?
Canada's team.
Tyler's team.
Canada's team. 4 Canadians.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Are the Guardians, like, are they going to do it?
Probably not.
They got the same side of the bracket as the Astros, right?
Yeah, they're the 2 seed, so it's not bad. But I would like to see the bank rocking again in the fall. It's always fun. I do like watching Phillies playoffs games.
Me too.
Yeah.
Can't wait.
All right, let's talk some hockey. Just a simple blanket way to start this. You did the Pacific Division preview today with Jason Gregor. Is this division the Oilers to lose? Simple as that?
I believe it is. Look, I think this team is better than they were last year. I think they have the best top 6 that they've had since the 1980s. I think they are certainly well positioned to not have a start like last year. And if that happens, then this team should cruise to their first division title since 1987. It's been a long time, but to me, I mean, you look at this group and where they are, how fired up and motivated they should be to get the job done this year. crossing off the division title, as even as unsatisfying as that might feel, given what they need to do, it should be first on the list.
Yeah, I do think like I always roll my eyes at the whole like President's Trophy curse and things like that. Because for me, when I look at this Oilers season, I go, you just learned the lesson in a way. Having home ice advantage the whole way would be massive. The Oilers might be Stanley Cup champions if they had home ice advantage in the Stanley Cup final. Like, I think building up all of those little advantages through a playoff run could absolutely be the difference. I think winning the Pacific, winning the West, trying to win even the President's Trophy is not an unrealistic goal for this team, considering how good they look on paper right now. But there also is a little part of me, Frank, and it's the fan side of my brain who's not overly excited for this regular season, because I'm a little bit like, just get me back to the playoffs. Can I feel that again? Like, I want my next hit. I want my next dose. Do you think there's a chance the players feel any of that? That it's a little bit like, okay, we know how good we are. Let's just survive this regular season, get us to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a feeling that you just described is very similar to what the players have. Here's the thing I'll tell you, though, is, and look, this isn't meant to be like, hey, remember the decade of darkness and how bad everything was. You should learn to enjoy it. That's not what I'm saying at all. But to bring it back to baseball, which is a totally different thing, and you never really know what happens when you get to the baseball playoffs, kind of similar to hockey. And I do think it's a little bit hokey that they celebrate every step of the way. But there have been a ton of dreadful baseball seasons here in my town. Watching that team, even though the NL East was a totally secure thing for a long time for this team, watching them celebrate that, I think, was actually a really important milestone. And it's like, don't take for granted all those little, like, look at the start of last season. You don't take for granted things like that for the Oilers. So to me, if you're writing out a list of goals, it should be winning a division championship. It should be getting home ice throughout. It should be getting X number of players to the Four Nations face-off. It should be like, go through and unpack the list. Like, it should be pretty detailed and long, and it should all be written down.
I'm going to ask you about the Four Nations thing now, since you just brought it up. How many Oilers do you think could make that team? I think 4.
So we're just talking Team Canada, right?
Yeah, just Team Canada, sorry. Skinner, Boosh, Hyman, McDavid.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Hyman for sure. McDavid, obviously. Bouchard is a really 90+ point bet. Skinner, though, is it a guarantee? Is it a lock? Like, I trust me, I understand the state of Canadian goaltending. Where would he fall in the sort of pecking order?
That the state of the goaltending is basically the reason why.
It's
I
him,
think he could
Binnington,
Jari,
and Aiden Hill.
Does Fleury make a push?
Oh, maybe it's a vet, like a third.
Man, that's the least excited I've ever heard anyone get about Marc-Andre Fleury. What did he do to you?
No, nothing, I guess. I mean, I like him, but like, I don't know. Like, it is interesting when you look at who else is going to be at that tournament, and the Americans are like, will Demko be healthy? Connor Hellebuck, all these names, and like the Swedes have their guys, and then I know Russia's not in it, but like you can look at Russian goaltending and be like Vasilevsky or Shesterkin or Sorokin, and Canada's like Aiden Hill, Stuart Skinner, old Marc-Andre Fleury,
back up on Minnesota.
Yeah,
yeah. So if you're looking at it from that lens, Stuart Skinner, he was essentially 12th last year in save percentage among Canadian goalies. Yeah, he's squarely in the mix for sure.
Yeah. Okay, back to this Oilers team here. I want to talk to you a little bit about the race for the 4C spot in Edmonton. Nothing says preseason hockey like a good race for a fourth line center position.
No. Nothing says really good team like a race for a fourth line center position.
That is a good point, because everything else is pretty locked up. And listen, Noah Philp is making a lot of fans during the preseason here in Edmonton. You know me.
You already wear one.
Pardon?
You already were a fan.
Absolutely, I was. That's what I was going to say. You know me as a Golden Bears guy. Like, I've always been high on Noah Philp, but Derek Ryan's the incumbent, and I feel like someone's got to do a lot for the Oilers to sit there and go, boy, we're okay waiving Derek Ryan in this whole equation. But do you think there's an actual race, or is this all just playing out because there's nothing else for us to talk about, and it's going to be Derek Ryan's job on opening night?
I think what's the way more important question is not who's the game 1 opening night fourth line center. It's who is the game 57, game 63, game 80 fourth line center. And I'd say that the odds are slightly skewed in Derek Ryan's favor. However, and by the way, he hasn't played that much center so far, has he? In the preseason, Derek Ryan?
No, they've started him on the wing for a handful of games.
Right. So, look, they understand what he can and can't do. What I would say is that they're certainly not blind to some of the deficiencies in his game. And look, he's a steady Eddie guy. He could get the job done, but there's a noticeable drop in team speed when he's on the ice. And I think that's something that they certainly have to, recognize and manage. I would think that the way this has played out so far, and before skates hit the ice, I would have said that the top candidate, if not for Derek Ryan to be that 4C, would have been Lane Peterson. Mm-hmm. I think it's skewed heavily to the next guy up being Noah Philp.
And that is, like, again, it won't be like now this preseason's all for naught for a guy like Philp. He's jumped Hamblin and he's jumped Peterson in terms of who would be the call-up. So I think that's a good point too. You had something to say?
Do you think the Oilers have any regrets about what happened with Holloway, with the way when Holloway did his interview, he said that he wanted like 1.1 or something.
1.2 was somewhere in that range.
But they signed Janmark and Perry, and now looking at their bottom six, like, it clearly needs upgrades. It'll be fine. But do you think they regret that kind of process they went through there?
I don't know if it was quite Janmark and Perry that really kind of clinched it, because you would have been able to keep those guys had you not done one of Arvidsson or Skinner. I think that to me is really where the calculation comes in. Like, I understand. And to be honest, like, in a lot of ways, I would prefer the skill set and style that Janmark brings, like the intangibles and different parts, elements to his game, than Holloway kind of off the jump. And I know people are going to say, are you absolutely crazy? This is a younger guy that could be, a potential center option for you for years. I think where this team is at right now, they really need a Janmark. But I think the question really comes back to one of Arvidsson or Jeff Skinner. Like, did you need both? Could one of those guys had done it? And then, we can make the joke about, will the Oilers go after Taylor Hall at the deadline? But, like, tell me right now, where would he even play?
On the left, on the third line next to Henrique and Brown.
It's an expensive 3LW.
Okay, and what's Evander Kane going to do when he comes back?
Well, full left wing? No, I'm kidding. Like, is he going to come back, or are we going to see him in the playoffs? Like, that's kind of
up in the air.
He will be back at some point. The question will just be regular season or playoffs. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if they waited until the play. Hey, look, you just watched one of your division rivals play this game every year. Yeah. Why? Like, first off, you want him to be 100% healthy, and this is a difficult surgery to go through. Just talking to players who have done a lot less than what Evander Kane just had repaired. Why would you rush him back?
Agreed.
Yep. You're $4.5 million at the deadline if you're just accruing space with him on regular IR. If you flip him over to LTIR after the fact, you're talking about a $9.5 million acquisition.
And that's where you mention with him on regular IR, if you only keep 12 forwards and 7D on your roster, you have a chance to accrue up to 4.5. And listen, it's not going to happen. And we're really getting into the weeds of the whole cap situation here. But like, Raph Lavoie has looked really good in the in the preseason. If you are going to keep him on the roster, you probably need to waive someone like a Corey Perry but there's no way they do that, right? But again,
No,
if
you're
you
waiving Raph Lavoie. They already had him pass through waivers. You're just waiving him again.
But if you wanted to maximize your potential accrual space, you would have Philp and Lavoie on this team instead of Ryan and Perry. And you would be sitting there. I think at that point, you'd be getting close to $6.5 million you could have at the deadline. And you could argue you might actually have two better players on the roster.
Well, I understand the argument, but you'd have to, it's not just like waive them and flip them out later. You'd have to keep that same 12 every night all year. And we just know that's not what they're going to do.
Yeah, I know. Last player I wanted to ask you about on the Oilers. I was getting a really big chuckle. I remember when I did that tweet a while ago where I was like, I'm just going to tweet insane things about the preseason and see if anyone bites. Frank thought I was talking mad shit about Ty Emberson. I've always been high on Emberson since reading his player analytics cards, because that's quite honestly all I've seen of the guy. But you had him on your much more educated. You had him on your list of potential breakout players. And it's hard to say excited because he's a defensive defenseman, but like, how excited should Oilers fans be about the idea and potential of Emberson?
By the way, I actually think he has way more offense to provide. I wouldn't even classify him as a defensive defenseman. This is someone that could probably pile up points in a pinch, and at even strength should be able to get a number of pucks on net, which, you know, when you look at his shots on net per 60, they're actually, I think they would have been third on the Oilers last year among defensemen. So, look, I think they made the best of a bad situation. Losing Broberg and Holloway in that combined offer sheet deal, they had to do something about Cody Ceci at some point this season. It's a lot easier to do it now in a crew cap space as opposed to being held over a barrel. And the fact that he played for Chris Knobloch in Hartford not long ago is a really good curated selection, a guy on a bad team that has more to give. And so now the big question is, I think even more than production or what he looks like, or how does he hold down the second pair right shot role, and I alluded to some of this today on our Pacific Division preview, is going to be, how does he look with Darnell Nurse? Like, that to me, I think is the crux of the entire Oilers season, is, and maybe even their success in the playoffs. Last year, instead of like this whole idea of at $9.25 million, Darnell Nurse needs to drive a pair. I mean, that would just be like you're asking too much at that point. If you could just get him to be steady, if there's someone else out there, maybe it's Emerson, maybe it's someone else that can balance him out, that would be a significant win. And I don't know that everyone can play with Darnell Nurse, so I'm really curious to see what that fit looks like.
If Emberson is legit with Nurse and that is a solidified second pairing, it changes the deadline calculation totally, because then maybe you're not sitting there going, oh boy, there better be a top four guy that shakes loose somewhere on the market. You're sitting there going, all right, let's add someone to that third pair, give ourselves a layer of depth, and maybe you are.
I still think you're adding to the top four anyway.
That's probably fair.
Because in a best case scenario, even if that pair is great, in a best case scenario, you're looking for the best collection of four defensemen. I don't care what hand you are, because look at the Dallas Stars last year against the Oilers. They were two defensemen short.
Yeah.
I mean, how many, if you played that series however many times over again, and with both teams being healthy, how many of them do the Oilers win? Out of 10, out of 100.
Yeah, I don't really want to answer that because I don't like the truth. Yeah, make a good point. I lied when I said that was my last question. I quickly wanted to just pick your brain about the Jeremy Swayman thing, because this has just gotten, it feels like it's gotten ugly, man, and it's gotten public. And, you know, we had DJ Bean on last week and we talked to him about this. And my perspective is, I understand how it's gotten to this point because I see both sides. I can see Swayman going, whoa, I am young. I've passed every test you've put in front of me. I sat as the 1B for Allmark. I did my time. It's my crease. Pay me like it's my crease. And if I'm the Bruins, I'm sitting there going, You've never played more than 44 games in a season. Why do we have to pay you Shesterkin, Sorokin levels of money when you've never played 55 games and been a workhorse starter? What's going to be the solution to this? And do you remember, like, when was the last time something got this ugly?
Well, I don't think Cam Neely can control himself. So that you started to see some of their cracking under pressure with Don Sweeney's initial interview to open camp when he called it the spitting up on yourself podcast. Like, I mean, you don't start to, have a trend down that path unless you're really frustrated with the way negotiations have gone. And by the way, he wants to be paid like Hellebuck and doesn't have multiple Vezinas to show for it. Like, so I understand it from both sides. I really do. And I think it's also a little bit easy for Cam Neely to sit up there today and say there's 64 million reasons. If the ask hasn't changed and it really still is $8.5 million, that $500,000 times 8 years is $4 million. I don't know about you guys, but if it's like, hey, are you going to wait an extra 2 weeks for someone to give you $4 million? Like, yeah, dude, I'm going to wait an extra couple weeks for $4 million because at the end of the day, that might be huge. It might be nothing by then, but right now, when Jeremy Swayman has not really made much money, how much of $4 million, what percentage of that would be his total career earnings? It's still a big deal.
Was there miscalculation not signing him then before trading Allmark?
I think so. You
gave him all the power.
You could have at least gotten really close. Like, I would have made sure that was done before, but
all right.
Easy to say now.
Yeah, one of the big stories as we head into the regular season, which gets going roughly a week from now if you don't count the Europe games. The Europe games happen a little bit earlier.
They don't count.
Yeah, they don't
I was
count.
going to say we don't.
Yeah, we don't observe those.
Stupid Tuesday they still on.
Yeah, Liam's so mad about the schedule again. All right, Frank, appreciate your time, man. Good to have you back on the screen.
See you guys.
Bye, Frank. Frank's going to be in Utah right away. Did you know that?
I did not know that, but that makes sense.
Yep.
Probably.
See the new arena. Did you see?
Do you think he'll sit at the ends where you can't see the ice?
I think for the experience, he should.
Yeah.
What happened in the third period? I don't know. Couldn't see.
see.
Okay, let's move along with the show. Shout out to Frank Seravalli, Star Mechanical guest line. Let's dig into. Let's wrap up the show. Bet365 other sports report for our friends at Bet365, where you can sign up today and use the promo code OILYBONUS. Whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. What's up, Liam?
I am nothing. Like,
you went and grabbed your phone like you had something to show me.
I do. So we're talking about the other sports report. I was looking on Bet365 today.
Okay.
So the Washington Commanders, a really good start to the year. What are they now? 2-2?
Yeah, 2-2. But that division stinks.
They're plus 260 to win that division right now. Behind Philly, who look awful, and Dallas, who did they play? Oh no, they played on Thursday. Could barely get by the Giants.
Yeah.
Plus 260 Commanders isn't so bad.
I don't hate that at all.
And then the NFC South is kind of all over the place too. Atlanta's the favorite, plus 160. Tampa plus 190. Saints 200. I wouldn't touch the Saints, but I might go Tampa. I don't know. There's a lot to like over on the futures for football right now.
Yeah, there is. That was an interesting week in the NFL. I mean, you had the Bucs getting off to a huge lead, and for a brief moment, it felt like they were going to blow it because the Eagles had a chance.
Yeah.
You had the Vikings getting out to a massive lead, and then Green Bay storming back, and it felt like for a brief moment Green Bay was going to come back. Even in that Bills-Ravens game before the debacle that was the Bills' trick play, it was 21-10, and the Bills were on the other side of the field, and it was like, oh man, the Bills are going to make this thing a football game. Yeah, it was an interesting week in the NFL. It's been really, really unpredictable this year.
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. It's very difficult from a betting perspective to bet on it. Kyle is in. How about my Falcons? Yeah, Falcons are off to or figured it out a little bit.
Saints. Yeah, the Falcons.
Have you seen what's going on today in the world of baseball?
I saw the White Sox release, the press release of how bad they was. Apologize.
Yeah, they said sorry.
Yeah, they
really?
Did, yeah.
It's our bad. There was a funny tweet from a White Sox fan from exactly a year ago where he was like, well, that's a wrap on the season for the White Sox. Like, here's the good news. Next season can't be any worse. And it got way worse somehow. But right now, so the regular season ended yesterday, right? And there was a tie for the final wildcard spots in the National League. The Diamondbacks, Mets, and Braves are all tied for that final two spots. Wow. The Mets and Braves have a rainout game, or 2 rainout games they had to make up today.
Oh,
so
are they playing right now?
Yeah, so there was a chance that they didn't matter, right? If things would have played out correctly yesterday, the games wouldn't have mattered. They just wouldn't have played them because they would have been inconsequential. But they ended up mattering. So right now, the Braves are up 3-0 in the top of the 7th.
Yes.
In game 1 of the doubleheader.
Okay.
Basically, each team needs to win, and they're in. So if the Braves win, they're in. And then in game 2, if the Mets win, they're in. But if the Braves win again, Arizona gets in as the 6th seed.
Oh, wow.
But here's where it gets interesting. Obviously, if you win, you're a wild card team. You have to go play in a best of 3.
So they just have to play each other again?
Well, no, they'd play different opponents.
Oh.
But if you're the Braves and let's say they hang on and win game 1, why would you pitch anyone good in game 2? You have to save your arms. I mean, it's already bad enough they had to burn Chris Sale in this game, who's their best pitcher or one of their best pitchers.
How much did he pitch? Is Sale still playing?
Oh, yeah, he's having a great year. Oh, sorry, they didn't end up going with Sale. They ended up going with Schwellenbach, which is huge. He's having a great year too, though. So they went with Spencer Schwellenbach, the 24-year-old. If they win this game, the next game, like they're going to go bullpen day because you're not going to want to burn anyone.
You're calling up a minor league player.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if you're the Mets, you're then going to have this second game.
Yeah.
To make it into the playoffs where you're basically going to be playing like a minor league starter. So the Diamondbacks, I think, are going to end up getting screwed out of this. And then the Mets and Braves are going to be at a bit of a disadvantage in the playoffs. But the Detroit Tigers officially clinched on the weekend.
That's cool.
As of August 2nd, they had a 0.6% chance of getting in.
A great story. I saw a lot of Blue Jays fans a bit upset about it because similar records.
Oh.
And then obviously the Tigers. If I remember this correctly, again, not a huge baseball guy. When the Blue Jays went out and got like Price, Tulo, Ben Rivera, of course, they were not that good at the deadline, right?
No, they had to turn it around. And they did that a bit before the deadline, too.
They had a big win streak?
Yeah.
Okay. So a little bit different, I suppose. But I think a crazy story, and we've mentioned it, just like the Mariners fall. Like they were 10 games up on Houston.
Crumbled.
And then ended up at 1 point. I think maybe 15 games up, ended up 10 games back or something crazy like that. And then 1 win out of the playoffs. So disappointing. My dad won't be happy, but I guess that's the life of a Mariners fan. Am I right?
I suppose. I'm really rooting for the Tigers too. I want to see Tigers move on. I'd like to see the Royals. I don't care. Royals, Orioles, they can both go to whatever.
So when does it start? Tomorrow? Exciting. Maybe I'll start watching tomorrow.
Baseball starts in October if you're a casual. If you're a diehard and you're like watching your favorite team all year, obviously. But like, Daryl Sutter said the only time it's legal to talk baseball is in October. I love playoff baseball.
Obviously the Jose Bautista moment is special for Canadian baseball fans. But I love the Edwin Encarnacion Baltimore wildcard game home run.
It was in Toronto.
Was it in Toronto?
Yep.
That was awesome too. Didn't they have a wildcard game in Baltimore too at one point?
Not the Jays.
Maybe it was just an end of season one. He hit one, but that was cool too with his little parrot on the bases. He's still on part of the team, right?
He's been around as like a bench coach or whatever.
Cool.
All right. We'll be back Wednesday with another edition of the show. And then next week, we are 5 days a week for the whole hockey season. So giddy up. But we have potentially a new friend joining us Wednesday.
Oh.
Played for the Oilers in the McDavid era and is retired.
Oh, I know who this is. Is it, do I?
Yeah, I think you know what it is. So he's going to swing by, I believe.
Swing by?
Actually, I don't know if he's coming in person or not. I don't know if he likes us that much yet. But we'll get to him. And then I'm thinking we got to have Jason Demers on the show.
Well, he tagged you in a tweet the other day. That was huge.
I know. Well, him and I were texting right before that. Because me and him have a little thing with Noah Philp right now where we're going back and forth about that. And with how JD has been texting me, he's got takes. So I think we got to unleash him this week. So I'm thinking maybe Friday we'll go with him. Where is Mulick? Mulick with a good guess. It's not him. He was given the option, though. This job could have been his.
He's fully in the country.
Yeah. Not Ratty, not Clefbaum, not K. Russell, although his name was thrown around. We just can't find his phone number. Versteeg would actually be somewhat interesting, too.
saw obviously an Oilers game last year with Troy Brower.
He's around a bit. He's still in Alberta, I think.
In Edmonton.
Cassian, no, he's banned. Mikko, he's an agent now.
Oh, Lico.
Joel Pearson. Yes.
Yeah.
Joel Pearson on the show Wednesday. I'm kidding. You guys will have to wait and see. You'll have to tune in then to find out. That is a wrap. Quickly, though, before we did wrap up the show, I wanted to say this a little bit earlier. We got carried away with Frank. But obviously, today, September 30th, is the Canadian Day of Memorial to recognize the atrocities and multi-generational effects of the Canadian residential school systems. This day, it's only a few years old, but it is a day to reflect, and it honors the children who never returned home, the survivors of residential schools, as well as their families and communities. Obviously, this is something all Canadians, all Albertans, take a minute today, step back, maybe do a little bit of reflecting as well. That is a wrap on today's edition of the show. It's not Laddie Schmid. That is a wrap. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. Oil up.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.